Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Honorable Jim Greenwood, President and CEO of Bio.
Look at all you beautiful, brilliant biotech leaders. Welcome to Bio 2011. Welcome to Washington. That was quite a video, fast-moving video you just saw. But I bet I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that's a nice self-promotional video, Jim. But what have you done for us lately? So that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. I'd like to tell you what Bio has been doing lately. We've been imagining. We've been imagining not just how biotechnology can heal and fuel and feed the world, but how we at Bio can make that happen sooner rather than later. And so with that vision in mind, the Bio board and our staff have been hard at work for the past year. We've been constructing a comprehensive legislative proposal. This is Bio's first ever 5-year plan. And we're confident that this plan will accelerate our progress. So today I want to share with you some of the details, because we believe that unleashing the promise of biotechnology can help us to change the world. And talk about changing the world, the other day I came across an article discussing vaccinations. And the author mentioned his 15-year-old son, asking him, "Dad, what's polio?" Well, many of us here are old enough to remember when polio struck fear and caused suffering for millions. But today, at least in the developed world, polio is something that kids have to ask their parents to explain to them. So imagine someday our grandchildren asking us, "What was cancer?" How great would that be? Well, that is the future that we in biotechnology envision and that we work towards every single day. To take cancer and AIDS and Alzheimer's and malaria and all the other deadly and feared diseases that still end millions of lives each year and move them from the medical books to the history books. Now, is there a reason that we shouldn't envision a time when children will ask their parents, "What was it like back when people went hungry?" Or when they worried about climate change? This is our vision, but we all know how much work it will take to get us there. So think about it. Screening millions of compounds for hits that might, but probably won't, become leads, it can be monotonous. There's always that hope. Getting up in the morning and buttoning up the lab coat day after day, putting in the hours, might just lead to a new breakthrough drug. The process of supplicating to get another venture capital firm that might fund your startup company, but probably won't, and then doing it over and over and over, that's grueling. You know, clearly there are easier and less insane ways to make a living. But the dream of changing a patient's life, and maybe the lives of millions of patients, that's what keeps you going. And researchers at agricultural biotech companies certainly don't get results overnight either. It takes years to copy and modify genes, to insert them into plants, wait for them to grow to see if the desired trait is acquired. And it usually isn't. But the prayer of a chance that success in the lab could mean significantly more crops in farmers' fields that could make the difference between life and death for millions of the world's hungry. That's what sustains those scientists. And Lord knows it's not easy to convert the cellulose and plant matter to sugars that can be fermented and converted to biofuels and plastics. It takes a huge amount of scientific effort to construct enzymes to take apart plant matter that was meant to be very durable. But it's the dream that even though this next experiment probably won't work, it just might. And that could lead to the production of a new, affordable, clean-burning fuel that helps to save our world from overheating. It's that dream that keeps the bench scientist peering into her microscope day after day. And every one of you is working on some part of this vision for the future. You're brainstorming, researching, developing the biotech innovations that will transform our world. It's what you do. Now, we at Bio, we're not the scientists, we're not the entrepreneurs, we're not the investors. But we are your voice, your advocates to the policymakers and decision makers. So we work to create the right conditions so your work can go forward. The video we saw mentioned some of our recent accomplishments. We fight in the political trenches for policies that support biotech innovation. That's what we do. And we spend as much time fighting bad policy as we do advocating good policy. But despite all of our progress, let's face it, we are not getting the cures to patients, the crops to farmers, and the fuels to consumers nearly as fast as we need to. So we at Bio have not just been imagining a better world through biotech innovation, we've been constructing a plan to get us there and to get us there a lot faster. And we know that the problem isn't that the people in biotechnology aren't up to the job. For example, in May, the FDA approved 2 new drugs that completely eliminate the hepatitis C virus from patients. Now, that's not just a treatment. It's about as close to a cure as you can get for a disease that has been a death sentence for millions. One of those new drugs is from Vertex, Josh Boger's company, the other from Merck. These medicines are protease inhibitors that block the enzyme that the virus uses to make copies of itself. Now, to develop those, scientists had to figure out the structure of the protease so they could then find the best binding configuration for the drug. Now, if biotech researchers can figure out all that, and they can solve problems just as complex, then why can't policymakers in every country figure out how to help us get these cures to patients faster? Imagine if it didn't take 10 or 15 years to get a new medicine to patients. Imagine if we didn't have companies laying off researchers and killing promising projects because investors just can't afford the risk of funding early-stage companies. Instead, what if when you went on a roadshow, the investors couldn't line up fast enough to give you money? That brought chuckles to the audience. What if the FDA review of new product applications was actually coherent and transparent and predictable? More laughter. What if you could get your new drugs approved, or drug or device approved in a timely way? What a concept. What if the EPA, the USDA, and the FDA actually worked together to approve new biotech plant and animal products? Is that a concept? Imagine the difference it would make if every country's government made biotech innovation a national priority. Now, is that too much to ask? I don't think so. So last year, after our convention ended in Chicago, I decided that to truly unleash the pace of biotech innovation, we had to think bigger, bolder, and more outside of the box. So at Bio, we started what we called our Big Thinking Project. We asked biotech leaders, investors, and patients across the country to give us your biggest and smartest ideas to radically change the policy environment. And we said, don't worry about how controversial or how politically difficult it would be to accomplish, because that's our job. So we've been imagining and designing the ideal environment that would take biotech policy to keep up with biotech science. We spent the past year collecting ideas, thinking them through, and hammering them into legislative and regulatory reforms that we will hand-deliver to the Congress and to the President of the United States. Can you imagine what it would be like if the President and members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, put aside their political differences? Nah, it's too much to imagine. But imagine if they were to come to us and ask, what do you guys need? What resources and regulatory changes do you need so you can turn the science you've developed into the therapies and the crops and the fuels our world so desperately needs? Well, we'd say we need an FDA that is more interested in promoting new drugs than in postponing them. We'd say we need tax policy that encourages private investment in biotechnology companies. We'd say we need Congress to get real about benefit and risk on behalf of patients who are, frankly, running out of time. And we'd say we need Congress and the President to understand that medical innovation doesn't begin and end with the NIH. It takes place every day in small and medium and large biotech companies who need government to work with them and not against them. So yes, we can imagine Congress and the President asking what we need, but we're not sitting by the phone waiting for them to call. We have been going to the White House and to the Capitol and saying, look, our country has big, big problems to solve, and we know how to help. The United States is facing huge deficits, more than $1 trillion this year, and we're already $14 trillion in debt. And you guys in Congress have to do better than just having a political food fight over it. Now, Congress knows that one of the biggest factors driving spending, and this is true all over the world, is the cost of government-funded health care. Medicare is facing an unfunded liability of almost $25 trillion over the next 20 years. Our population is aging, just as it is in many developed countries. Here in the U.S., the baby boom generation started turning 65 this year, making them eligible for Medicare. And in fact, in the United States, 10,000 people turn 65 every single day. And 10,000 more will turn 65 every day for the next 20 years. There are 50 million Medicare beneficiaries today. There will be about 65 million by the end of this decade and more than 80 million by the end of the next. Now, the cost of caring for their cardiovascular disease, their cancer, their diabetes, and their Alzheimer's is unaffordable. We've been telling members of Congress, if you give us a chance, we can help you solve that problem. Because you can't do it with price controls. And if you try, you will kill innovation. The reason healthcare is expensive is not because doctors and hospitals and drugs are expensive. Healthcare is expensive because cancer is expensive. Healthcare is expensive because diabetes is expensive. Healthcare is expensive because Alzheimer's is expensive. What we need is less cancer, less diabetes, less heart disease, less Alzheimer's. What we need are fewer sick people. Fewer sick people here in America and fewer sick people around the globe. If we have fewer sick people, we'll spend fewer dollars on health care. If we have fewer sick people, we'll have less suffering. And that is precisely what biotechnology innovation offers. So instead of Congress fixating on the cost of innovative medicines, they should consider this: a new drug that could delay the onset of Alzheimer's by 5 years would save Medicare $50 billion a year. Let me repeat that. $50 billion a year in Medicare savings. That's what biotechnology can do. But we could do so much more with the right policies. So we say to Congress, you can't control the federal budget without controlling health care. You can't control healthcare spending without controlling chronic disease. And to control chronic disease, you need much more, not less, biotechnology innovation. But for our industry to deliver on that promise, we need help with a few things. So Congress, let's work together and fight the disease, not the cure. We need to re-engineer the economic model that drives biotech innovation. And we need to create a 21st century FDA. We need to re-engineer the economic model because biotech companies are different. They have to survive on investor capital for long and rocky years before they make a dime. Our tax code doesn't really recognize this, but it should. Our tax laws need to include incentives to encourage and not to punish more investment in biotech innovation. So that's why our plan includes 8 new capital formation proposals, including a new 50% angel investor tax credit for companies with fewer than 500 employees, a new R&D partnership structure, a provision to make investments in small biotechs eligible for reduced capital gains tax rates, matching federal grants to VCs that fund small innovative companies, new net operating loss provisions, incentives for multinational companies to return overseas investment funds and invest them here in small biotechs, and a patent box providing reduced corporate rates on income derived from certain kinds of IP. So now let's turn to the FDA. The Congress has given the FDA neither the resources nor the authority to do its job. The FDA review process has become too unpredictable, too time-consuming, and too expensive. Regulatory science hasn't kept up with the frontiers of innovation, and the agency has been given too many conflicting missions and not enough resources to perform them. We have to change that. Our plan has 11 regulatory reform provisions, including making the FDA an independent agency, updating the FDA's mission statement to give the agency a clear mandate that it's to encourage the development of innovative products, providing greater continuity of leadership by giving the FDA commissioner a fixed term of office so that she doesn't change or he doesn't change with every new presidential administration, giving the agency a chief innovation officer to ensure that forward-thinking, cutting-edge science is integrated into agency operations at all levels, giving the agency new ways to bring in top-notch external science and medical advice and more input from patients. We also propose creating a progressive approval path so that even before final approval, patients can have earlier access to promising therapies. So more investment in biotech research and a streamlined, predictable approval process will bring new medicines to patients faster and keep them healthier at far less cost. We're also telling Congress and the White House that to balance the budget, we need more high-wage, tax-paying jobs. But when you put biotechnology to work, you put people to work, lots of them. So our message to Congress and the President is focus on how to incentivize biotechnology investments in medicines, agricultural products, and advanced biofuels, and you watch us bring the employment rate down. We've put together a comprehensive bio-based economy, jobs, and development act that would give a needed boost to dedicated energy crops, renewable chemicals, advanced biofuels, and next-generation biorefineries. We also need bold policy changes to advance agricultural biotechnology. Unfortunately, the U.S. regulatory system for plant and animal biotechnology is fast becoming the greatest impediment to the development of safe and beneficial products. Plant and animal biotechnology developers are no longer certain how long regulatory approval will take, which agency might also claim authority over a product, which data will be required, what the decision will be based upon, and especially how susceptible a decision will be to a legal challenge. Our plan calls on Congress to provide clear direction to the regulatory agencies to fix this mess. So these are the kinds of policies that will enable us to achieve the dreams we've imagined. We all have a lot to be proud of. Hundreds of biologic treatments and cures for deadly diseases, biotech crops feeding millions and creating new opportunities for poor farmers in developing countries, biofuels and bio-based products saving resources and reducing pollution. Every day, our products reduce suffering, save lives, and provide hope and healing. But for us, that's just not good enough. If we really intend to leave our children a world with less disease, less hunger, and less pollution, then we have to face the reality that our time is running out. We have to do more. We have to move faster. We can innovate solutions to the world's most challenging, pressing problems, and we want to do more. We can do more. And that's why we're proposing big ideas. Clearly, our ideas for unleashing the promise of biotechnology won't be easy to sell on Capitol Hill. But the facts are on our side, and the science is on our side too. So I'm going to need your help. You have the passion and the knowledge to tell this story and to tell it convincingly. I need every one of you to add your voice to our effort. Tell your congressman about this plan. And we will move the policymakers to our side too. And when we do that, we will move this world closer to the one we all have imagined. Thank you.